Well, to shed more light on this topic, we have the pleasure to have with us over the phone our dear guest, His Excellency Ambassador Medhat Meligi, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to you.
Your Excellency, Ambassador Meligi, now with the President, how do you see the timing and the importance of the Emirati President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed to Egypt and meeting with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi?
Well, it comes at a very crucial point of the current war waging on Gaza, and that there is an accumulation of Arab efforts, especially, of course, the Egyptian one. And, of course, this comes also at the same time with the visit of the United Nations Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres, at the same time, which shows that the whole world now is looking at Egypt as the mecca of all the efforts aiming to diffuse the current situation in Gaza. Unfortunately, so far we haven't got a hearing ear from the Israelis. We are still hearing the same messages that they have been waging since the beginning of this war, that the war will not stop before achieving what they claim to be the two goals of their genocide on Palestinian people, which are the total liberation of the hostages and the destruction and dismantling of Hamas organization,
yes,
which have both failed brilliantly so far.
Yes,
the idea is that the Arab efforts are focused at this moment to try to diffuse the situation. We should also understand that the United Arab Emirates and its ruler are totally aware of the catastrophe that is taking place in Gaza, and also it's going to be a good opportunity to try to use their connection with the Israelis in order to send some messages regarding the dangerous position of Israel by continuing this war, not just for the interest of the Palestinians, but also for the interest of the Israelis and the Israeli hostages. Unfortunately, we've heard several attempts before to try to have some strikes that actually ended up with killing more of the hostages, of the Israeli hostages. So waging a war on Gaza, on the enclave of Rafah right now, which are where around 1.5 million or even more Palestinians, mainly refugees, is not going to end up easily. And we are going to see a bloodbath, something that we haven't seen during the whole time of this war from the 7th of October until today. And that's why all the efforts are focused now, including our friends in the United States and European Union, where they are also trying to urge the Israelis and to try to pressure them to comply with the international law and the international humanitarian law, and not to invade Rafah, because this will end up with a humongous number of casualties, something that we don't want to see for the Palestinians or for the humanity in general.
Yes, so Your Excellency Ambassador Meligi, what is the depth of the relations between Egypt and the United Arab Emirates? How is it reflected in their same stance concerning the Palestinian cause and sending the cooperation between Egypt and the United Arab Emirates and sending aid to the Gaza Strip?
Well, actually, I mean, it's not a secret that, I mean, just the visit itself shows to which extent the relations between Egypt and the Emiratis are. The ruler of Dubai, the prince himself is in Egypt in order to coordinate any efforts that are aiming to ease the life of the Palestinian, whether we are talking about humanitarian aid or we are talking about a ceasefire or even a truce, is discussed with our Emirati brothers, and we hope that we can through them also reach to the Israelis and to convince them that this war is not going to help in any way. On the contrary, it's going to complicate more the situation. But when it comes to the Emirati, let's not forget that the Emirati also have helped on several occasions during the course of this war, whether by humanitarian aid or some diplomatic efforts. And I think that mainly this is why this visit is today, is to send a message from both leaders that the Arab nation is against the liquidation of the Palestinian cause on one hand and the more killing of Palestinians on the other hand. Yes. And I think this was also the same message sent by His Excellency Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations. Yes. We are all now at the point where we are talking to the Israelis directly and asking them that this war is not going to bear any fruits but to destroy the whole image of Israel in the international community. Not just that, but it's going also to tarnish the reputation of Israel as it wanted to be perceived, actually.
Yes, yes.
I mean, this is the main point.
Yes. Your Excellency, Ambassador Meligi, also today President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, as you've just mentioned, met with the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, and the Secretary General also met with Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry, and they held a press conference, and also from the activities that the Antonio Guterres have made in Egypt, that he went to the border, the Rafah border, and spoke and delivered a message from there. How do you see the importance of this visit after his meeting with President Sisi, with the Foreign Minister also Sameh Shoukry, and also the message that the UN Secretary General sends from the Rafah border?
Well, it's very important, the message that has been sent, especially at this moment or this junction of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, because it's not Israeli against Hamas anymore. It's actually Israel against the Palestinian people. So the message that was sent by the Secretary, first of all, his visit, and the timing of his visit is very important. It's a last call for the Israelis to reconsider the idea of a land operation in Rafah. The recognition of the United Nations as Egypt and the Rafah border crossing is the main crossing point for humanitarian aid to the Palestinians. And this actually answer to several false allegations made that Egypt is closing its borders against the will of the Palestinian and the international community. Actually, the recognition from the Secretary General himself shows that our border was never closed. And if there is any obstacle for the humanitarian aid to reaching the Palestinian, is that the Israelis from the other side of the border are preventing these humanitarian aid or medical aid to reach the Palestinian and the wounded in Palestine.
Yes.
So this is one very important message. Another message sent by Mr. Guterres, what he expressed as a dissatisfaction with the queuing of the trucks carrying the humanitarian aid to be delivered to the Palestinians. And this shows that there is an aid that is waiting for the confirmation of Israel. So Israel is the one blocking this. So I think this is another witness to the situation, another one who knows and understands, and he is not just representing himself, he is representing the whole international community as the Secretary General of the United Nations, and explaining to the world that Egypt is not closing its border, and he hopes that we hope that the spirit of mercy during the months of Ramadan, and I'm quoting what he said, that the spirit of mercy during the months of Ramadan, and in this spirit he is calling for an immediate ceasefire to spare the life of the Palestinians. Of course, he mentioned also that the hostages have to be released. We are talking about 130 hostages that are being held in Gaza, including many have passed away, unfortunately, have been killed with the hands of the Israelis, who are actually targeting every civilian and military or what's so-called military points in Gaza in indiscrimination, and accordingly, that's why we are losing the lives even of the hostages.
Yes, Your Excellency, Ambassador Meligi, also for his part, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres appreciated, while his meeting with the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, appreciated the role that is played by Egypt, of course, as a mediator, and of course, as also its efforts in delivering the aid to Gaza Strip and its coordination with other countries to deliver the aid. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, during the meeting that was attended by the UNRWA Commissioner General Philippe Lazzarini, said that the support for the UNRWA should continue because it's very important. How did you see this point?
Well, I see this as a very important message from the Secretary General to the international community, and mainly to the countries that have decided, based on just allegations that were never proven by Israel, that 8 or 10 of the workers of the UNRWA has been implicated with the attacks of 7th of October, and based on those unproven allegations, those countries have decided to cut the funds from the UNRWA, which is the only organization currently on the land that is capable of delivering the humanitarian aid once the flows can be more adjusted and more regular. And this organization, although it's over 150, I believe, from its personnel have been killed and targeted by the Israeli forces against the international community, which are here the United Nations, shows the world that Israel do not care about any humanitarian law or international law, because it's targeting the personnel of this organization. And from here came the call of His Excellency Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, that this organization has to survive and to continue its job of delivering, and to continue its mission to deliver the humanitarian aid and medical aid to the Palestinian wounded and the Palestinian people.
Yes.
Having said that, I think that Mr. Guterres also said that nothing can permit or nothing can forgive the collective punishment of the Palestinians in this regard, and that this organization has to help, has to be let free to be able to help. In my point of view, this organization is working so far fine, but at a certain point after this war, we have to look into abolishing the work of this organization and to resume work with the regular refugee organization, which is the UNHCR, which is the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees,
Yes.
because this is the organization that's meant to deal with all refugees, Palestinian and else. However, because of the demands of Israel long ago, this right was taken away from the Palestinian, and this organization, UNRWA, was created just for the Palestinians. So now Israel, when it wants to punish this organization, it only punishes the Palestinian, while it cannot do the same if who is taking care of the Palestinian is the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, because in this case she cannot affect the whole refugees of the whole world by targeting this organization. And that's why it's currently easier for Israel to target this organization, because it only serves the Palestinian, and the Israel, as we all know, doesn't want to help the Palestinian to get the aid they need and the medical supply they need and the United Nations help they need.
Yes, Your Excellency Ambassador Meligi, you've just mentioned the rejection of both sides during the meeting between President Sisi and Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary General, the rejection of any forced displacement of the Palestinians, and also the need to prevent the situation from going out of control. So the idea of a situation going out of control, how do you see this now?
Well,
What are the
actually,
steps? What are the steps that all sides should take in order to prevent the situation from going out of control?
well, actually, I mean, the plans are there. Long ago, Egypt have helped to formulate them. And we had several initiatives from the beginning of the war until today. Unfortunately, what has been missing is our counterpart, the Israeli side, the one who can listen and can try to ease the humanitarian situation, at least, on the Palestinians. However, Israel has been driven by a hysteric desire of vengeance after the humiliation that it was subjected to after the 7th of October. And that's why Israel so far does not want to stop its war and still insisting until the last declaration of Prime Minister Netanyahu that the ground operation in Rafah is going to take place as we wanted, and that the policies of Israel are starting from Israel and not from anywhere else, in a sign of the rejection of even the American plans to or demand or request to not to proceed with the Rafah operation. And this shows that it is not the problem of having a plan as much as it is having the political will to implement any plan whatsoever that is aiming to stop the war, whether by truce or by a ceasefire or even by a total stopping of the operations, of the military operations. Unfortunately, the only responsible so far is Israel and its accomplices who are not taking concrete measures to deter Israel from taking this war any further. And I mean here, by those, I mean the United States and the NATO countries and, of course, the European Union countries as well.
Yes.
Those are the accomplices of Israel who are helping it to complete the genocide that is taking place in Rafah right now by entering Rafah, which is an enclave that is holding over 1.5 million Palestinians, most of them refugees, and this is their last refuge, the extreme southern point of Gaza. There is nowhere else to go for them except to perish, as Israel wants to do it. I mean, there is no war that can justify, or there is no reason that can justify a war that destructs over 70% of all civilian targets, such as schools, hospitals, universities, you name it. Any civilian entity has been hit by Israel in a total act of vengeance and a total act of genocide, as the whole world have described.
Yes. Yes. Your Excellency Ambassador Meligi, also UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres today said while meeting with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi that stressed on his keenness for Israel to respect the international and the humanitarian laws. So why is Israel not abiding by any international laws? And whenever there's a mediation between Egypt, US, Qatar, or any negotiations concerning a ceasefire, it goes in vain. It fails.
Well, actually, because Israel can do it, and it has the diplomatic support and the military support that it's getting from its allies. And once again, we are talking about the United States and the EU countries who are helping Israel politically and diplomatically as well as military. So why should it stop to do what it pleases as long as there is impunity for its actions? I mean, they are continuing because they can do it, and that's because nobody is stopping them. And by stopping them is just by disarming them and not giving them more weapons and ammunition to continue and waging this war on the Palestinians. I mean, we have seen before many countries who are helping Israel diplomatically and militarily, and with just some accusation, as I mentioned before, to some workers of the UNRWA, a number that according to statistics represents 0.03% of the total number of workers in this international organization, were enough to stop the funding for the organization, while over 32,000 dead, mainly children and women, did not suscitate any reaction among those countries to stop Israel and stop funding Israel to continue this war. So again, with the double standard that we've always spoken about, Israel will continue its actions since nobody and no country is seriously trying to stop them by concretely stopping any arms supplies to the Israeli state.
Yes.
So that's why it's continuing. That's why all the calls have been rejected, because they can do it and they are doing it because nobody is stopping them.
Yes, Your Excellency, Ambassador Meligi, despite all the negative that we see in the war between Hamas and Israel, yet there's a small positive light that comes that for the past 30 years there was nothing said or nothing of any negotiations concerning the idea of a two-state solution. Yet during the months of war, this idea became flourished once again, and it's high on the any talks between the concerned parties. So how do you see the importance of the idea coming back to light, the idea of a two-state solution?
Well, the two-state solution is an idea that is very much alive in the heads of the Palestinians, Egypt, the Arabs in general, most of the international community and countries around the world, including the United States and most of the European countries. Unfortunately, one state is opposed to the two-state solution and doing its utmost to prevent this two-state solution from happening, which is Israel. And I mean, it's quite clear that Israel do not want to reach a two-state solution because it wants to continue annexing land and expelling Palestinians from their land. Or why do you think that Israel so far do not have any clear borders to anyone? I really defy any Israeli to tell me what are the borders of Israel. Where are they? Even their own constitution do not have any borders, and this shows that they want to keep taking the land. Now we are hearing about some extreme right wings in Israel talking about, again, occupation of Gaza and having settlements there and colonies there. Israel do not want peace. It's very clear. I mean, it doesn't need a rocket scientist to figure out that Israel is not in favor for a Palestinian state. And actually, the Prime Minister Netanyahu himself, who is the head of the government, said there is no room for a second state in this area. There is only one government.
Yes.
And although we are all calling for a two-state solution, but as long as there is no real pressure on Israel to comply with the international demand and the right of autodetermination of the Palestinians, then this idea is not going to see the light. Israelis will not give up their dream to occupy all of historic Palestine without any Palestinian in it and expelling them. And this is the plan, to expel them, whether we are talking about Egypt or Jordan or elsewhere in Europe or the United States or Canada. They want to expel the Palestinians and have all of historic Palestine to themselves.
Yes.
This is what they have been doing.
Yes. Yes, I thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your valuable information, Your Excellency Ambassador Medhat Meligi. Thank you very much for joining us over the phone, Ambassador Medhat Meligi, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Thank you very much. I really had the honor to have this phone with you. Ladies and gentlemen, a short break and I'm going to be back with you.